Today I am joined by Euan Maclean. Euan started his career in finance before moving into the charity world and is now Director of Corporate Services at Edinburgh University Students Association. Morning, Euan.
Good morning, Kirsty. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So why don't we kick off by, why don't you tell us how this pandemic has affected you?
Well, it's affected the Students Association quite significantly. So work-wise, our income has suddenly stopped. So a big chunk of our income, our trading income, we do a lot of, we run bars, cafes, shops, nightclubs for the students at Edinburgh University, and clearly that has all ground to a very rapid halt, or did so in March. And we're also heavily involved in the Edinburgh Festival, which isn't happening. So that's these things combined are making a big hole in our finances, very big hole in our finances. And it's affecting me. It's been a very busy time. It's been an exceedingly busy time, and lots of challenges, including even things which I think everybody has faced, the challenges of working remotely all the time, and changing how we work and changing how we interact with our colleagues. And some of it's good and some of it's more difficult.
That's very open. Thank you for that. So what would you say is keeping you awake at night?
At the moment, it's probably cash flow projections. Our cash flow projections aren't terribly positive. So we're doing lots of work to try and address that. But yes, it's pretty serious. We've furloughed a lot of our staff, and that's made a big, massive difference cash wise. So we're using the coronavirus job retention scheme pretty extensively, and have been able to keep all our staff on our payroll as a result. That has, it's bought us time, but there will come a point where the cash runs out. So that is keeping me awake.
And out of interest, how are you dealing with that? Because that sounds like, quite a lot.
I've worked at the Students Association for quite a few years now, and we've been in challenging situations before. So maybe knowing that I've coped with those in the past has helped. It is a wee bit like Groundhog Day. We're sort of going back to more or less where I started 6 or 7 years ago. I suspect that's the direction that we're coming, but we're in a much better position to deal with it now, and I have that experience. So, and I keep smiling because you have to.
I like it. That's a really nice reminder as well for people watching this that are maybe also, worrying about a number of things, and actually maybe time to reflect and think about where they've dealt with a challenge before, and that you can get through it. You've been there before, maybe a slightly different challenge, but a challenge.
Yeah, definitely.
So what do you think, if you were to reflect on the last 3 months, because we're in July now, so since COVID-19 hit the UK, what do you think's been your biggest learn?
I think it's the importance of working with colleagues, and actually the importance of colleagues and the strengths that they can bring to an organisation, and there's clearly the day-to-day things. People have got their own expertise and are able to bring that, and you can't do anything yourself. You're working as part of a team, and there's a reason for that, and I can bring my own strengths to that, but I certainly couldn't manage this situation on my own by any means, and so working very closely with colleagues. But I think also what I've learned is actually how diverse and how what a great team we've got at the Students' Association, and the staff, even staff who are furloughed, are we've got a once a fortnight staff quiz, and some of the furloughed staff have been working on that, and the ingenuity that's going into that quiz is great, and we've got people with a lot of creative expertise, and that's coming to the fore in this work that's going on just in the background, but it does help bring people together, and it does make you realise people have got more to their bow than just turning up at the office.
I like it. And actually, this is touching on something else I heard recently about, a reminder that, furloughed individuals still play an extremely important role, even being on furlough, and they can help with, that social side and bringing people together. Are you?
Very much so. And I think, it's important from their point of view as well, to continue to be involved and to be aware of what's happening so that they don't feel isolated. And it must be quite challenging if you are furloughed, and it must be very easy to lose sight and lose track of what's happening back in the workplace, and to feel that you're not part of that. So this is one way that we have been able to get people more involved. And I know that there's sort of groups staff who are keeping in contact with each other through WhatsApp groups, and they might not be meeting in person, but they are meeting virtually, and I think that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
The social side is an important part.
Absolutely. So if I was to ask you to grab your crystal ball for me and let us know, what do you think will be different when we've come through this? And someone did challenge me on this question recently, and I said, well, what do you mean when you come through it? So it's a very good point. So maybe let's look at, I'm thinking maybe 12, 18 months down the line, and further on than where we're at now anyway. What do you think will be different for businesses and organisations like yourselves?
The clear thing, which I think so many people have recognised, is that I suspect we won't go back to such a rigid turning up at the office mentality. And we, the Students' Association, have gradually been introducing more flexible working practices, but there was still very much and there's some of our staff who have to, by nature of their role, they have to be on site. But for other staff, I think there's going to be much more in the way of flexible working patterns, much more working from home. Mm-hmm. We use Microsoft Teams as our main platform, and everybody has, we've just, that's become second nature now, and I doubt very much that that's going to go away. Mm-hmm. More fundamental things, will people's behaviour change? Will the sort of close-up one-to-one interaction that prior to the 19th of March or whenever it was, we were all used to that, and now we're not. And I wonder if that is going to have a lingering, longer-term impact, and does that then mean that people will be less comfortable going to cafes, sitting indoors, using public transport? There could be all sorts of things which subtly change, and clearly there's going to be a financial impact on the entire economy, and there's going to be organisations that struggle to cope with that, and there's going to be a lot more debt, I think, which will, it's going to take a long time to pay back. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I did wonder, this is a minor point that popped into my head, when it comes to cafes, do you think there will always be, hand sanitizer, hand gel now for forevermore, even when hopefully we will, have a vaccine at some point for COVID-19. But even if it was to go away, do you think that actually that it will look different because every entrance will always have?
I suspect you're right, Kirsty. And even things like people, we've all known that you're always meant to wash your hands regularly before eating, and I wonder if that's, it has become so much more of a thing that is going to stick, and people, people's behaviour will change in that way for the better, in terms of personal hygiene. So I think there could be all sorts of things which subtly change over the coming years. But maybe ask me back in a year or 18 months' time, Kirsty, and we can reflect on how wrong we were or otherwise.
I would love to do that, because if you look back even 3 months ago, we probably couldn't have predicted where some of the things that we're seeing now. So it'll be interesting to see where we are in a year. So I think most people watching this video, they're going to be finance leaders in other organisations or business leaders. What one piece of positivity or words of wisdom would you like to share with this peer group?
So I was thinking about this earlier, Kirsty, and so I have found since the lockdown, I've been sitting at my desk so much more than previously, and it's not good. So my piece of positivity is remember to get up, go outside, enjoy the hot July weather that we might get at some point. Get a 10-minute break outside mid-morning for your coffee, go for a walk before breakfast or after you finished at the end of the day, get out on your bike, get fresh air, and it's really important. I find for my own personal mental health, I feel so much better after I've done that, and sitting in front of a screen all day just isn't good. So keep positive by being outside and exercising.
I like that. That's so useful, because I know it sounds so simple, but if anyone's like me, I need that constant reminder and almost like permission. Permission to move away from work and
I think that's one of the challenges, because in the office you are continually getting up from your desk, even if it's just to walk over to the kitchen to get a coffee. You're still getting up or walking over to speak to a colleague, and you are moving much more than. And when you're working from home, you think, oh, I better be at my desk all the time, but you don't have to be. So.
Thank you for that. That's great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm definitely going to take you up on your offer. We're going to speak again a bit further down the line, and we'll do some reflections. So
excellent. Great.
Thanks, Euan. Speak to you soon.
Thank you very much, Kirsty. Bye.